For our third segment, we're going to talk about phototherapy, which is using light to regulate your brain. So the light that enters our eyes gives information to our brain as to what our energy levels should be. Light sets our body's clock, which is called the circadian rhythm, and changes in light levels affect hormones like melatonin and serotonin. And melatonin is associated with falling asleep, and serotonin is associated with happiness. A lot of people feel depressed or low energy or low mood on cloudy or dark days. And around 20% of Americans experience seasonal affective disorder, or winter blues. Seasonal affective disorder is basically when your mood changes based on the season. It's often similar to depression, but it might include agitation, irritability, or restlessness. So some of the signs or symptoms are feeling depressed, losing interest in activities you once enjoyed, feeling sluggish, tired, or low energy, having problems with sleep, feeling hopeless, or appetite changes, and specifically cravings for more food in the winter and less food in the summer, and feelings of agitation or anxiety. Now, it's more common in the summer or spring to feel agitation or anxiety or having a hard time sleeping, and more common in the winter to feel low energy and a high appetite and want to sleep all the time. One aspect of this is the shorter days and decreased levels of light during these times. The sun's UV rays have been linked to vitamin D production and lower blood pressure. When I worked in wilderness therapy with troubled teenagers and I was living outside, I noticed that my body started to naturally sync to the patterns of light outside. So in the summer, during the long, bright days, I didn't need as much sleep. I only slept about 6 or 7 hours, and I'd wake up in the morning just full of energy and couldn't stay in my sleeping bag any longer than that. I also noticed that I didn't need as much food because I just simply didn't need the calories in the warm weather. In the winter, I was able to sleep a lot longer. The nights were long, and I was able to spend, 13 hours in my sleeping bag, which during the summer I would have gone crazy spending that much time just laying around. But in the winter, I naturally had less energy, and I was able to stay warm and wrapped up in my sleeping bag during those long nights. And I was probably sleeping 11 or 12 hours at night. And I also was hungrier, and I ate more calories, which helped me stay warm during those cold winter days. And our brain has evolved to adapt to our natural environment. And it's not adapted very well to all the artificial lighting in our current environment. Historically, our ancestors almost all worked outdoors. It was very efficient for them on the cold, wet, or dark days to stay indoors and stay warm and conserve energy, and the bright, hot, sunny days to get outside and be actively hunting or farming or whatever it was that they needed to do. Our modern society expects us to work a 9-to-5 schedule, regardless of the season, the temperature, the weather. And our brain just hasn't evolved very well to this. So this sets us up to be more irritable, depressed, or feel low energy because our body is out of sync with our work environment. So in this segment, we explored how light affects the brain. In the next segment, we're going to talk about how we can use light to positively impact our brain. So light therapy is the intentional use of light to improve our mood. It's often done with artificial lights that mimic natural light. Light therapy has been shown to be effective with seasonal affective disorder, low energy, sleep disturbances and changes in sleep schedules, and depressive disorders. Light therapy can replace or supplement medication, and it has few risks or side effects. A recent study compared 4 randomly assigned groups of people with depression, and at the end of the study, a minimum of 50% improvement in symptoms was achieved by just over 33% in the placebo group, 29% in the Prozac-only group, 50% in the light therapy-only group, and nearly 76% in the active combination group. So those who were doing light therapy plus Prozac showed the greatest signs of improvement. We talked about light, or how the lack of natural light can affect our mood. So now we're going to talk about what we can do about it. The best way to get light exposure is to have access to natural sunlight throughout the day. And even diffuse light coming in through windows can be beneficial. A recent study has shown that spending a weekend camping in the winter can even reset that natural body clock and resolve some of those issues like low energy and seasonal affective disorder. When natural light isn't an option or it isn't enough, we can use artificial lights to supplement. So you can do light therapy at home, and feel free to talk with your doctor about this before starting it. He might have some specific recommendations for you. and buy a light box. They have them at Amazon, Costco, and many other companies. One very reputable company is Northern Lights. But when you do buy a light, look for these things. At least 10,000 lux, and a light box that has no UV rays is the best type. When you do light therapy, you sit or work near a light box. So the light from the light box needs to enter your eyes indirectly. You can set it on your table or desk at home. That way you can read or do some other activity while having light therapy. The light needs to go into your eyes. You can't get the same effect by just exposing your skin to the light. And make sure to not look directly at the light box, because the bright light could hurt your eyes. Light therapy requires time and consistency. Use it every day. Now, the timing is important. So for most people, light therapy is most effective when it's done early in the morning, right after you wake up. And you want to have the box 16 to 24 inches from your face. And with a 10,000 lux light box, light therapy usually involves daily sessions of about 20 to 30 minutes. You can use natural daylight or artificial light boxes to increase the amount of this blue-toned light that triggers higher energy levels. The other thing you can do is use red or yellow-toned lights to trigger the production of melatonin in your brain, which will help you sleep better at night. Most people don't know that if they're using a screen, like a TV, phone, or tablet, in the hour before bedtime, that screen, which is emitting a blue-hued light, is going to interfere with the melatonin production in the brain. So if you want to mimic the natural lighting that triggers healthy sleep cycles, you need to avoid bright lights and screens during the hour before sleep. Instead, dim the lights, read on paper instead of screens, and try to be around things that emit a yellow or red hue. So in nature, this was things like sunsets and campfires. There's a feature on many smartphones called Night Shift that changes the screen hue on your phone to a more amber tone. This is better than nothing, but if you're having a hard time sleeping or you're feeling overly tired, you may want to try cutting out screens altogether before bedtime. It's not just the hue of light, but the brightness and the proximity to your eyes that can interfere with proper sleep cycles. And in a later segment, we're going to talk about how important sleep is for mental health. So light therapy is something you can consider incorporating into your life to help you feel happier or to increase your energy levels. Light therapy has very few risks. Using artificial light boxes can trigger mania, however. So if you have bipolar disorder, a manic disorder, or you've experienced manic episodes in the past, you'll want to be very cautious using light therapy, and you'll want to work with your doctor to figure out if that's even a good option for you. Also, if you have really sensitive skin or really sensitive eyes, you should talk with your doctor first. Now, tanning beds are not an alternative. They release a different wavelength of light, and they can increase skin cancer risk, just like exposure to sunlight does. So just to sum things up, we can use lights to affect our mood, and we can incorporate natural and artificial lights as interventions to improve seasonal affective disorder and symptoms of depression.